the NFL season has shocked us through 4 weeks. And granted, baseball has not provided that level of shock value. But it has certainly been a pretty memorable stretch run with Albert Pujols doing what he's done and the 73 home runs or rather the 703 home runs he's put together. Getting to a number that I don't think anybody really anticipated him getting to. And then Aaron Judge finally tonight gave Yankee fans, and I would imagine some baseball fans, something they had been craving.
Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60 and 27. The Jolly Roger hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season.
Amazing. John Sterling, the call, WFAN Yankees Radio Network. Brian Kenny will join us in this hour, 17 minutes from now, MLB Network host. He was on literally just seconds before Judge hit home run number 62. We'll talk about it some more on the other side. We're just getting started. A Tuesday edition of the Cash In, Sports Map Radio and the Sports Map Radio app. Almost like I planned it. See, you can't, if you turn on your, like a computer or phone, you can watch the show. I was scrambling, like literally right up until showtime. Yeah. I was like, okay, we're almost out of time. I was trying to get the Judge highlight up. Funny stuff. Yeah, so I'm figuring we should be able to get something good out of. I'll ask him something specific about putting the Judge home run in perspective, and then we should be able to turn that into a promo. Yeah. That's me. Just Mr. Great Ideas. And Vlad is literally getting a champagne and beer bath right now in the Braves locker room. Yeah, he got asked to by the Atlanta radio station. They didn't have somebody down there, so they wanted him to get sound. So he's in the locker room in Miami covering the Braves thing. He might call with a guest, like a player. Yeah, that's what we're hoping, is he might, after Brian Kenny, we might be able to get somebody. So we'll see. Oh, there's Vlad right there. That's so funny. He's on TV. I can see him. Yeah. Hey, chum, come here. There's Vlad with the white backpack. Getting hosed. He didn't put on a raincoat like the others. That's funny. I just texted him. With a mask on, of course. That's funny. All right, we continue on this Tuesday edition of the show. You heard the call just before we took a quick pause. Aaron Judge, home run number 62 tonight. And now you've got a situation where he is the all-time American League home run single season leader, and it will inevitably start leading to the question. Now we can actually have the conversation. Is this the real home run record? And I know it's simple. It's low-hanging fruit, so to speak, as we say in the sports media business and in the talk radio world. It's an easy mark. But it's a very relevant question to ask on a night where Aaron Judge breaks the American League record. He is the first to do it in the post-steroid era, the post-PED era. This is the record. And no, there's not going to be any asterisks placed next to Barry Bonds' name. And we can all sit here and argue and debate whether that should be the case, but there isn't going to be any debate, or there isn't going to be any asterisks placed. Rob Manfred's made enough mistakes in the game. He's not going to make one more. But this is the post-PED record. We've seen 59. We've never seen anything over 61 until now. And Aaron Judge did it. If you got a thought on it, you want to weigh in, 1-800-224-2004. I'm not usually a big throw out a topic and just take calls on it kind of guy, but this is one you can. 800-224-2004. You can tweet at the show at the back page if you feel so inclined. But I think it's a legitimate question. We will ask it of Brian Kenny from MLB Network coming up in 10 minutes. He'll join us, and we'll get his thoughts on whether or not this is the new home run record or not. And I honestly don't know where I stand on it. And I know that's not a popular thing to say as a talk show host because you're supposed to have an opinion one way or the other. I think everything needs context. I think everything needs nuance. And I think this is the home run record post-PED era. No getting around it. I mean, Aaron Judge doing this in a time where offense is down, where the next closest guy to him, I think, has 41 or 42 home runs. I mean, this is a season for the ages. I think he's hitting 310, maybe 311. He might not win the batting title in the Triple Crown because Luis Arias is sitting out games, and you can make of that what you want. And there are certainly people doing that. And I'm sure I'll ask Brian Kenny about that as well. Should I tell him I'm going to be putting him on the spot with all these tough questions? Is it a good thing to sort of give it away? I don't know. But what a wild night. And then you get the Braves erasing a 10.5 game deficit in the National League East. I mean, the New York Mets led by 10.5 games. Now, is this the 77 or whatever it was, Red Sox blowing the division lead to the Yankees late in the season and then losing in a playoff? No, it's not. But this is a typical Mets collapse that we've seen. And the Braves finished it off tonight, getting a 2-1 win in Miami. And our executive producer, Vladimir Lewis, is actually in the Braves locker room right now. I was just looking at a locker room cam in the Braves locker room, and there's Vlad in there with his goggles on and a mask on and a backpack, and who knows? Maybe we'll get a Braves player on the air if he's able to wrangle somebody in. Okay, go to the phones, 800-224-2004. Let me say hello to Dylan in Georgetown, Texas. Wants to talk Aaron Judge. Go ahead, Dylan. Yeah, and you know what? I kind of agree with you. I'm kind of on the same page, but at the same time, there doesn't need to be an asterisk. That whole era of baseball was dirty. So you can make the argument that Barry Bonds, and I'm not defending him, by the way. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, that Barry Bonds, as a hitter who was allegedly juicing, and McGuire and Sosa and all these guys that were allegedly juicing, were playing with a whole slew of guys that were doing the same thing. And they still put up, and yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate the call, Dylan. And I mean, look, in a time where offense is down, everybody likes to talk about Mike Trout, greatest player in the game, Shohei Ohtani, oh my God, he pitches, he hits. Go and look through the last 20 years in baseball. Go back to, outside of Bonds and the crazy numbers he put up when he was juicing, allegedly, look at what Aaron Judge is doing. There isn't a season like this anywhere. If you're in your 20s and you've been watching baseball, since you were 6 or 7 years old, if you're in your 20s, mid-20s, you've been watching baseball for 15 or 20 years, you've never seen a season like this. Now, I saw some great seasons and some crazy seasons during the steroid era, and offensive numbers were off the charts. But post-PEDs, we have never seen anything like this. You might get a few years where the batting average is high and somebody may knock in a bunch of runs and somebody might hit 40 home runs. This guy did all of it. And the case is closed on MVP. My God, can we put that to bed already? It's over. Well, I'll do it like Howard Cosell would do it. It's over. It's done. Aaron Judge is the MVP. Whether he wins the Triple Crown or not. Nice season, even a great season for Shohei Ohtani. He's not the MVP this year for a 70-something win Angels team. Guess what? They'd win 65 with him. They won 70-something without him. Big whoop-de-doo. Great individual performance by him this year. You want to even make the argument he's the best overall player in baseball? Go for it. I'm not going to argue with you. But he's not the most valuable player. That's going to be Aaron Judge this year. He's going to win the award, and it should be a landslide. But inevitably, there'll be those guys, sort of smartest guy in the room syndrome. Those guys that'll vote for Ohtani over Judge. Well, because the statistics say, and nobody's done this since Babe Ruth. Well, guess what? Nobody's hit 62. And come damn close to winning a batting title. And a Triple Crown. Oh, and he's on a 100-win baseball team. Did the Yankees get their 100th win tonight? I didn't know what the final was. I turned it off after they pulled Judge out of the game so I could watch the Braves and Marlins and watch the Mets finish collapse. That collapse completed in the National League East. Oh, Met fans, when will you learn? Met fans, look, the Mets are Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football. They will pull the football away from you every time, and they've done it again. You're a wild card team. Yay. For all the Timmy Trumpet and all the great Mets talking. 800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. All right, let me break. We'll have Brian Kenny on the other side to talk about Aaron Judge, home run number 62. I'm sure we'll get a couple other baseball questions into him as well. Glad to have you with us on a Tuesday edition of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. Well, I'll tell you what, Yankee fans were definitely sweating it out. 161st game, and Aaron Judge still hadn't hit home run number 62. I think we were all starting to wonder whether or not he was going to get it. But that doubt was laid to rest earlier tonight. There you had it. Michael Kay with the call on the Yes Network. If you were watching MLB Network, you saw it as well because they had the broadcast of the game. And now everybody can exhale. Michael Kay got to call the 60-second home run. Everybody can stop, hyperventilating now. I'm a jerk, I know. Let's bring in Brian Kenny, MLB Network host. I used to work with him back in the day in our NBC Sports Radio days. I love this guy and glad we were able to get him tonight on short notice. So, Brian, I'm literally sitting there watching MLB Now, like seconds before you guys throw to the game. And I think it was Billy Ripken that said, at 8:07, he's going to hit this home run. And, oh, my God, it happened.
He absolutely said that. He'd been saying it all night. Somewhere in the middle of our show, he said that. And, I wanted to believe it, but it was pretty inexplicable at the time. Judge did not have good at-bats in game one. He'd hit one home run in 13 games. I'm like you. It started to feel like, okay, this really might not be happening. No shame in 61, but kind of a bummer that he had so many so early. And I did wonder. I was like, you know what? He doesn't get it, after last night, after the Orioles series, it felt like, hey, you got 4 games in Texas. It felt like a lot. And then after the first one, he didn't come close last night. Then he doesn't come close again in game one. You feel like, all right, you're down to 1 game. You talk about the immense pressure. It didn't look good. So I, like everybody else, I think I'm just relieved it happened.
Yeah, and I got to say, though, when I watched the Rangers approach to him in the first game of the series, I started saying to myself, if they challenge him like this for 4 games, he's going to get this home run. He's going to run into a fastball. If they keep pumping him fastballs, you had to think. But, game one, game two, the first game last night, the first game of the doubleheader today, he still could not catch up to the fastball. He just wasn't hitting it right. He was frustrated. He's slamming his helmet in the dugout, stuff you don't see him typically doing. And then, lo and behold, Tinoco puts one over the plate and he's able to hit it out. What was the I'm curious because you guys were probably still on the set. I mean, I would imagine because, it was just a couple of minutes later. What was the reaction like on the set in that moment?
Oh, we were thrilled. I don't know. We were all yelling. I didn't hear any of the call because me, Chris Young, Bill Ripken, all our crew, our camera guys, stage managers, we're all like, yes, and like, oh, it happened. And then we're yelling at Bill. I'm like, oh my God, you actually called it. A lot is made of that like stuff, making a prediction, but that was fun. First at bat, he'll put one out. So we were yelling at him, and we let it play out. And then it came back to us, and we tried to put it in perspective. But you're right. Like, one, I wanted to hit on a few points. You said I give credit to Texas. They pitched to him. Martin Perez has pitched him very well last night, so they went after him, and it just shows you how difficult it is. When all you do, it's a home run hitting contest. Nothing else will do. A single is no good. A walk is useless. Like over his last 11 games, Judge had a 500 on base, but he slugged 333. He had one homer, in those games. He's hit 200, kind of like Roger Maris. It was really the Roger Maris experience where Maris got stuck, I believe, at 56 home runs for 8 games. And that's the time when it felt like forever, when we hear about, the pressure, losing his hair, because the 61 Yankees had already clinched early. So there was nothing really at stake except for the home runs. And that type of pressure can, just have to change a little bit in your approach. You get a little tight, and it changes everything.
Will there still be people that vote for Ohtani for MVP give him first place votes?
No, I truly don't think so. I think that's a non-story. I don't think anybody will. They shouldn't. I've run the numbers on it. I look at it objectively. If Ohtani had more win probability with his pitching and hitting, or more run expectancy with his pitching and hitting, because he does both, he deserves to have both combined. If he was ahead of Judge, I could see it, but he's not. Judge is hitting alone without even getting to his fielding, because Ohtani doesn't field. It has affected winning and run expectancy more than Ohtani. That was not the case last year. Ohtani had a big edge on Vladimir Guerrero, but it's not the case. And everything else, we know, I'm not big on this, Jason. You know this. I'll try to be very dispassionate. Whether you're playing in a pennant race or you're out of the race, I try not to make a big deal about that. But in this case, the Angels have been gone for months, whereas Judge really did lead them to a division title. There's just a big difference in the real world.
Does it unleash him in the postseason? Going through this experience, because he hasn't been a good postseason player, let's be honest. Does this sort of thing sort of unlock his potential in the postseason, having gone through this experience?
It could be. I'm not big on that either. I think, when you have a decent sample size and you're a player that has proven you can hit good pitching, you'll be fine. Look, we saw he could be taken out of a game. You can not pitch to him, and he'll just have to have his 500 on base and then get on. Also, I think he's slugging like 500 in the postseason. So I think he's fine. He's not the same monster that he was this year, but he's got a 504 slugging percentage in 35 games. That's not bad at all.
Talking with Brian Kenny, MLB Network joins us here on the Cash In Sports Map Radio, the Sports Map Radio app. Let me get a couple others in on you here. The Mets collapse. Put it in perspective in terms of some of the all-time collapses. They were up 10.5 on the Braves. Yeah, it was a while ago, and the Braves chipped away, had the great June and July. How bad is this collapse for the Mets? Is it washed away somewhat because they still make the playoffs?
I don't call it a collapse, though. I think it was an epic battle. I think it's more akin to, there has only been a few 100 dual 100-win teams in the same division. I think this is more akin to the Giants and Fred McGriff's Braves in '93 when they both won 100. Because they're both going to win 100 this year. So I think the Braves are just an outstanding club, top to bottom. Got off to a slow start. The Mets never had a losing record in any particular month. So I think the only time they didn't answer the call was in those last 3 games. So I'll give you that. I'll say when you have DeGrom and Scherzer and then Bassett lined up and you lose all 3 with the season on the line, yeah. But that's not a collapse. It's bad. You got beat. But they got beat by basically 1 game over 6 months. I think it's the beauty of the regular season that a team that's consistent like the Braves can get behind that far and just slog it out every day with their own, commitment process, their own excellence, and come back and take it. I think they took it more than the Mets lost it.
And I'll tell you, I don't want to be the Dodgers if they get the Mets in that divisional round. When you look at the pitchers that the Mets could throw in a 5-game series, I mean, the Dodgers are going to be up against it.
Yeah, they're good. The Mets are good. Then again, DeGrom in his last 4 starts has an ERA of 6. So he's not, he's a thoroughbred. He's a sprinter. But he's going to give you 5, maybe 6 innings. And he's hittable. He's been hittable. He might also strike out, 12 and not walk any. He's going to be dominant. But the Braves showed you can get at him. He hasn't been that great. Scherzer, look, he's outstanding. But, I'd say he's about the number 1 pitcher in the sport, inning for inning. But, look, you can get to these guys. They just did. I think the Dodgers are, we kind of underrate them. And look, anybody can beat anybody. If the Royals got in the playoffs in a 3-game series, they could beat somebody. In baseball, it happens. So I think the Braves, the Mets, the Dodgers are all operating at the highest level, and anybody can beat anybody.
Brian Kenny, MLB Network, joining us here on the Cash In. I only got a couple minutes left with you. Has Terry Francona earned AL Manager of the Year with what he's done with this Indians team this year?
I think so. Guardians, by the way. Check yourself.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. It's the Guardians. I got to put a quarter in the jar.
Right. Good quarter. I thought it was $50, but do what you got to do. Yes. It could be Dusty Baker, by the way. He's a pretty outstanding job. But there's no question Cleveland has made the most with the least. Even the Rays. The Rays are usually that club. But I love what Cleveland did, the way they put together the team. They have a contact team. They run. They field. It's exciting. And look, they're also winning like 91 games this year. Maybe they can win one more. That they didn't just win a weak division. They really proved something with the surge that they had in September. And yeah, Francona's done an excellent job.
Brian Kenny, MLB Network, thank you on short notice. Hopefully it's not another 9 years before we talk. And I look forward to doing it hopefully at some point during the postseason. Be well, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Take care.
Love Brian Kenny. Gives us a few minutes here on the program on a night where you saw some pretty wild things in baseball. I mean, you see the Mets blow a 10.5 game lead. The Braves win the division. You see Aaron Judge hit home run number 62. I mean, you got the Dodgers, who are not going to break the Yankees mark of 114 wins, and certainly not the Mariners at 116, but still a 100-team win team, 110-plus win team, which is amazing unto itself. You had Pujols in the chase for 700 that we never knew was coming. It was a pretty fun stretch run to baseball. Now all the teams are set. I don't think we still have all the playoff positioning left, but at least the teams are set. Thanks again to Brian Kenny for stopping by the show. 1-800-224-2004 if you've got a comment on what Brian had to say. 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. We'll get you all the latest on the baseball and a couple of NFL notes as we continue. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In. Thanks for being with us. Sports Map Radio. Yep. Keep them warm. I'll take them on the other side. Don't you share. Hey, John, I'll give you another little assignment if you can. Extract that interview however you have to. We may replay that in the last segment of the third hour. You always got new people tuning in, so cool. Thanks. All right. Manny in Vegas. Cool. Thanks again to Brian Kenny for stopping by the show. MLB Network, MLB Now. You can catch him there. Also does a great job on boxing. I think he's Fox Sports and DAZN. And an old colleague of mine. It's a funny story. I used to fill in for Brian before I became a full-time host at NBC Sports Radio. I used to fill in hosting the show for him in middays. And we got to know each other. I admire him. I think he does a great job, and glad we were able to get him on the show tonight. All right. The number is 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 on this history-making night. What does it mean? You guys can all weigh in if you want. You could tweet at the show as well, at the back page, again on Twitter, at the back page. In the next hour, we'll get into some NFL talk. A couple of NFL notes I want to get to before we end the hour here as well. First, let's say hi to Manny, who's in Las Vegas with Jason Page on the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. What's up, Manny? I do think, Manny, and I appreciate the call. I don't necessarily agree with, hey, because of the contracts and stuff like that. Go and watch the celebration right now in the Braves locker room that's going on over my left shoulder, your right shoulder if you're looking at our screen and you're watching the broadcast of the show on our video stream. The Braves are in that locker room celebrating like little kids. Baseball's the one sport that can turn grown men into little kids. I mean, other than the booze, they celebrate the same way I remember celebrating my Pee Wee baseball championship when I was 8 or 9 years old. It's the same sort of thing. So I don't necessarily buy the idea that, well, because of the money, you can't really treat records the same way. Now, here's where I will agree with you, Manny, and I think you bring up a fair point. while I don't think you should separate by era, I do think fans are smart enough to know that every era has to be treated differently. There was the dead ball era. There was the steroid era. There's the era of baseball we live in now where there's a million people shifting. It'd be impossible to hit 400 now. I mean, the huge hit totals, 500 home runs, 300 wins, with pitchers getting pulled the way they do. We may not see another 300-win pitcher. I mean, the number of guys that have a shot at 500 home runs is slim. The number of guys that have a shot at 3,000 hits is slim now. All of those things you're going to see less and less of. And it's generation-based. I mean, look, Babe Ruth hitting 60 home runs in the time and day that he did, in the era that he did, I mean, that's just off the charts nuts. When you really get to thinking about it, he hit 60 home runs in an age where the ball was dead. The next closest guy had like 20, if that. And the ballparks were like 460 feet to center field. Same thing with Maris. Maris was playing in these gigantic ballparks. How many more home runs would Babe Ruth have hit if he had been playing in Coors Field? Or Camden Yards until they made left field longer. I mean, and you could go on with this stuff. Every era is sort of treated differently. It still doesn't change what Aaron Judge has accomplished tonight, but I think baseball fans are pretty smart. If you're an old school baseball fan, you've been watching, I'm 45 years old. I still can't get used to saying that. Doesn't roll off the tongue the way 44 did. I'm 45 years old, and I've been watching baseball since I was a little kid. It's the first sport memory I ever have as a kid is baseball related. And I love the history of the game. I'm a student of the game. I played the game. I was a bat boy for a AA baseball team. I mean, baseball was my life. So I appreciate all the different eras. And I think true baseball fans, they know what they're seeing in different eras and how to put what Aaron Judge is doing into context. Again, Barry Bonds, last season I think was 2003. His last big year, something like that. I mean, you look at what Aaron Judge has done and put it into context, and it doesn't matter how much nuance or what type of context you try to put it into. It is off the charts that the next closest guy in terms of home runs is basically 20 behind, and he's a couple of hits short of a batting title because Luis Arias decided to sit out some games because of what's been called a hamstring injury. And look, I'm not going to be one of those people because I've interviewed enough professional athletes, and if there's one thing they've taught me over the years, you don't question whether somebody is legitimately hurt or not. I used to make fun of bone spurs every time Shaquille O'Neal sat out a game. I remember doing shows where I'd be like, oh my God, this guy's 7'2". He could run over a freight train, and he's sitting out because of a toe injury. And then I started to have toe injuries, and I realized, you know what? It's kind of hard to run with a toe injury. And all of a sudden, it puts it into perspective for you. Even with the best trainers. I mean, that stuff hurts. But it does. It really does. It puts it all in perspective. And I think fans are smart enough. That's why I try not to treat fans like they're stupid. And so many media outlets and so many, the ESPNs of the world. And I say this as somebody that's got friends that work at a lot of these places. But the reality is, a lot of sports networks, radio shows, they like to treat fans like they're stupid. You're smarter than you think you are. You're smarter than a lot of times the media gives you credit for being. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And again, you can tweet at the show if you feel the need to do so. At the Back Page. Again, hit me up on Twitter, at the Back Page, if you want to send me a note about the Aaron Judge 60-second home run tonight. I mean, look, Brian Kenny says the Mets thing wasn't a collapse. I think the 3-game series in Atlanta was a collapse. I think getting swept in a series when all you had to do was win one game. And 2 of those 3 games you had your aces starting, your top guns, your hired gun in Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom. Oh my goodness, wait until you see the Mets rotation when Jacob deGrom comes back and how'd that work out? I'm telling you, it's Lucy just pulling the football away. I'll tell you, the National League playoffs are going to be off the chain. The Dodgers are not inevitable, folks. I'm here to tell you. I think the Braves can beat them. I think the Mets can beat them. I think the Cardinals can beat them. The funny thing is, I think the only team that can't beat them is the Padres. I don't have any faith in the Padres. If they had Tatis out there, maybe. But I don't think the Padres, I think the Dodgers just have the Padres number. But we'll see. We'll find out soon enough. And I'll tell you, there's another element to this baseball postseason. There's another element to this baseball postseason that I don't know if we've ever seen, at least in my lifetime. And that is teams with 5, 6, 7 days off before they start playing again. You know, the Yankees have all this time off between now and the start of their next series. The Astros have all this time off between now and the start of the next series. And it's something we've never really seen in baseball. Usually the postseason starts right up. There's never been buys like this with this length of time. And you're going to have, guys playing practice games. In the Yankees case, I think they're sending players to Somerset to play in simulated games, but nothing can simulate Justin Verlander throwing 98 up near your ear hole in a postseason game. Nothing can simulate, these different scenarios and situations that you're going to see in a postseason game and in a postseason situation. So this is unlike, any postseason I think we've ever seen. And it's going to be wild to watch. All right, couple of NFL items before we wrap up the hour. J.J. Watt, and he was emotional and understandably so on Sunday when news broke about the fact that he had AFib. He still wound up playing in his game. Now there's some talk, and the doctors are advising J.J. Watt, who really is one of the class acts in the game. The recommendation is that J.J. Watt undergo a procedure to fix this heart problem that he's been dealing with. And again, you think about what we've just witnessed with Tua Tagovailoa, and now we're seeing this situation with J.J. Watt play out. And I don't care what you have to do if you're the Cardinals. You make sure he gets that condition taken care of. His heart went into atrial fibrillation on Wednesday, and nobody knows why. I mean, he could have died. An irregular and often very rapid heart rhythm is essentially what you get with atrial fibrillation. So hopefully he makes the decision that's best for him. I would never tell anybody what medical decisions to make with their life, but you certainly have to, if you're the organization, you've got to convince him to do what is smartest in this situation, even if it means he has to miss a little bit of time. And then there is the story that kind of goes hand in hand with this Tua Tagovailoa story. And I told you, I've heard tons of players talk about the way they've dealt with concussions over the years. Ex-49ers quarterback Alex Smith, who overcame insurmountable odds to get back on the football field, is talking about his concussion history after the Tua incident. He talked to Pablo Torre on the ESPN Daily podcast, had a concussion with the 49ers in 2012. That's how he lost his job to Colin Kaepernick. And he admitted that he's played through a few different concussions. And he's talked about the effects of those concussions. 2016, when he was in Kansas City. Said he felt great, but, he was passed by the experts, but he knew that he still had a concussion. And I've said it before, players can fake it and get through these concussion tests. So while, yes, the onus is on the doctors and the league to get it right, players have to be smart enough to get off the field in these situations where they've had their bell rung. Anyway, an interesting note. I'll put it on my Twitter feed at the back page if you want to see the story I'm talking about with Alex Smith. All right, we'll come back, wrap up this hour of the Cash-In, get you ready for hour number 2 of the program on the SportsMap Radio Network. Okay. Oh, cool. The Rangers beat the Yankees in Game 2 of their doubleheader tonight, 3-2. Nobody's going to remember that. Of course, what they'll remember is this. Well, you'll have to trust me. It was Aaron Judge hitting home run number 62. Yeah, I could do better than that.
Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60 and 27. the Jolly Roger, hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season. And the American League has been alive for 120 years.
John Sterling, the call on the Yankees radio network. So there it is. Aaron Judge home run number 62. You'll be seeing plenty of it tonight. You will hear plenty about it in the coming 24 hours, I'm sure, after the Yankees slugger breaks the American League home run record. We talked about it plenty in this hour. We'll do some NFL in the next hour of the show, get into the Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush debate, and how is Jerry Jones handling it? Remember, he talked about loving the idea of a QB controversy? What's he saying about it now? You might be surprised. I'm almost reluctant to talk about this Tom Brady Gisele Bundchen story. I'll try to put it into some type of context that involves sports, because it delves into the guy's personal life as far as his marriage. And while we talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago when we launched the show, the more I thought about it, the more uncomfortable I was sort of talking about it. We'll try and put it into some context, though, as far as sports is concerned. Also, I got a crazy Tom Brady stat for you. Jason Cole will join us from Outkick.com, an NFL Hall of Fame selector, longtime NFL writer. He'll join us coming up about 40 minutes from now as well. But stick around. Another hour of The Cash-In is next on Sports Map Radio. All right. I am sipping on a vanilla, a Coca. They have these Coca-Cola with coffee cans, and I'm drinking the vanilla one. I can only drink them once in a while, but when I need a little pick-me-up, that's my pick-me-up of choice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how long they're going to be around for, but I like them. I should go scoop up a bunch of them just in case. Another hour starts right now. Sports Map Radio, the Sports Map Radio app. On our Twitter feed at the back page, you can watch the show there. And if you follow me, we're giving cool stuff away to our Twitter followers. So go and follow me, send a note, say hello, and you might win something cool. Simple as that. We give stuff away every Wednesday on this show. Wednesday is our big giveaway day. Again, a special hello to our friends listening on 97.1 The Freak in Dallas, one of our new affiliates of the Cash-In. Good evening to you fine folks. And you had history. Well, just outside of Dallas tonight. Obviously where the Texas Rangers play. It's at Globe Life Field. They beat the Yankees tonight 3-2 in the second game of a day-night doubleheader, but the Yankees got what they wanted, and that was an Aaron Judge 62nd home run of the season. And let me say this, by the way. Kudos to the fans down there. And I know there were a lot of Yankee fans, and I get that. And Yankee fans travel well, and they're all over the country. But there was that place was loud. For game 161 for a team that's got 70 wins and playing for nothing. I mean, there was an atmosphere in that stadium tonight. It'll be fun to see when the Rangers get good, and they will get good eventually. It'll be fun to see what that ballpark, that stadium, that gigantic, monstrous stadium is like in like a postseason atmosphere. Be kind of fun. Rangers will be all right eventually. Just give it some time. Got some young prospects that I'm looking forward to seeing in the years ahead as well. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004, and again on Twitter at The Back Page. Jerry Jones did his weekly interview with the Dallas radio station today. Some interesting comments from him regarding Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. What happens if Cooper Rush goes 4-0 as a starter? Oh, I'm rooting for chaos. You know I am. We'll get to it next on The Cash In. I'm Jason Page. It's Sports Map Radio. Bum 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 bum. Then on top of it today, I threw my back out this morning. Yeah, it was bad. I tried to be the good guy and move some storage bins for a friend of mine, and yeah, absolutely. And I had moved about 5 or 6 of them, and I was fine. And I was going to lift the very last one, and my whole left side of my back went out. It was just, it was awful. Yeah, use your legs. Yeah. Well, I took a muscle relaxer this afternoon. It's thankfully mostly worn off by now. Otherwise, I'd be on the air like a zombie. And, yeah, not fun. Not fun at all. But it's just not one of those nights where it's fun to be sitting in a chair for 3 hours. And if it was any other night, I might have actually just said, yeah, you know what? Run something else tonight because it ain't going to be me. But couldn't do it. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm not in like agony. It's just uncomfortable tightness. You know. Tops Merlin Blasters? The hell are Merlin Blasters? God, I miss spending ungodly amounts of money on baseball cards. Oh, I used to. I miss it so much. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't. Not unless I want to be divorced. That's about it. It's cards or divorce. Or it's marriage or divorce or whatever. I don't know. Rolling along on this Tuesday night. John was asking me, John, our producer, engineer back in Houston, was asking me tonight what I was drinking because he could hear me slurping during the breaks from a can. And I said one of my guilty pleasures, like when I need to pick me up right before the show, and tonight I did it, is these Coca-Cola with coffee, like the thin cans. And I went and grabbed one of the vanilla ones right before we came on the air tonight because I think it was the only way I was going to get through the show between throwing my back out this morning. Yeah, just lifting boxes. The stuff that happens when you start getting old. I'm 45, you know. The body's starting to give way. You know, the worst part is when your mind See, the problem is my mind still tells me I can do all the things I did 15 years ago. My mind is still sharp, and it's like, yeah, you can take those big 7 storage bins and load them into the back of your car. You can do that. It's like the voice on your shoulder going, do it, do it, do it. And that's the only voice talking to you, and you're like, yeah, I can do it. And then on the 7th one, your whole left side of your back goes out, and you're just done. Spent the whole day on my back trying to type on a laptop when I'm like upside down. It's just awful. Best advice I can give to young people is don't get old. Just if I was doing like a valedictorian speech, I'd be like, or not the valedictorian, like those, those speeches when they call a famous person to come to a college and give like what do they call those speeches? I can't remember. But you go, yes, thank you, John. Thank you, John. Commencement speech. That's what producers do. Good job. Yeah, if I had to give like a commencement speech, I'd be like, here's my advice about getting old. Don't. Just cut it off. Just at 40, just mail it in. You're done. Jerry Jones. Oh, Jerry Jones. Where to begin with Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones spoke to his favorite Dallas radio station today. And remember a couple of weeks ago when it was all fun and games and Jerry was like, hey, if we beat the Giants, I'd walk to New York or walk back from New York if we could beat the Giants. I want a QB controversy. Well, he wasn't sounding all that happy about the idea of a QB controversy today. His weekly appearance on this Dallas sports radio station, Jones was asked if there's a scenario where the Cowboys could stick with Cooper Rush, even when Dak Prescott is cleared to return from his thumb injury. Jones, not being the usual mouthy, exuberant, joking Jerry Jones, he just said, we're just starting the week. Let's see how the week goes. And then the host of the show said, any chance Cooper Rush starts in favor of a healthy Prescott? No, as I see it right today. Now, that's still leaving wiggle room. If I'm Dak Prescott, I'm not going to bed going, it's my job when I get back. And as long as Jerry makes comments like that, no, see, he could have just stopped with no. There could have been no other sentence after that. But he is still leaving open the possibility, at least he's leaving open that one could interpret the possibility that Dak Prescott will not be the starter of the Dallas Cowboys when he's healthy. I mean, again, I talked about it on the show last night. I'll say it again. If they go and beat the Rams this week, the defending Super Bowl champions, who I know are not playing like the defending Super Bowl champions, they're playing like a team with a Super Bowl hangover. That'd be very okay if they didn't make the playoffs. They just don't care. They won it last year. It's great. But in Los Angeles this week, if Cooper Rush wins a 4th straight game as a starter, I think Jerry's hedging a little bit on the possibility that Cooper Rush will still be the starter, even if Dak is healthy the following week. Now, Dak Prescott had his stitches removed last week and has resumed throwing, but Jones said in that interview on Tuesday that Dak still cannot grip the ball well enough to play. And is that going to change in the course of a week? Does it change in the course of 2 weeks? Here's the beauty of it if you're the Cowboys, though. You don't have to rush him back. Even if he's ready to play, get another full week of practice in. If you're the Cowboys, you do not have to rush him back. You could take your sweet time in allowing him to get right. I mean, Cooper Rush has really given them a luxury that a lot of NFL teams don't have. And I got to tell you, the way the Rams have played this season, them being a 4.5-point favorite at home against the Cowboys is kind of surprising to me. I don't think they've earned that. I think a lot of that is reputation. I think a lot of that may not be people buying into the Cowboys with Cooper Rush as the starting quarterback. Be what it may, I am surprised that the Rams at 2-2, who have a point differential of -24, who've given up basically, 25 points a game over their first 4 games, have not been that good defensively, have not been that good offensively, with just 70 points for the entire season through 4 games. I don't know how they've earned a 4.5-point favorite against the Cowboys. Maybe people just think one of these weeks it's going to click, but I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that it's just suddenly going to click for the LA Rams. I like the Cowboys this week. Every Friday on the show, we do Paige's picks. So you'll have to tune in on Friday to see if the Cowboys are one of Paige's picks, but I certainly like them. I mean, it's hard to bet against a guy who's never lost as the starting quarterback for the team, isn't it? And I think Cowboy fans are starting to believe in Cooper Rush at this point. And look, I hate to say this, he may not be better than Dak Prescott. In fact, I'm willing to bet that from a skill set standpoint, maybe Cooper Rush isn't better than Dak Prescott. But sometimes things just click. Sometimes, guys are tuned in more. Sometimes there's just a better connection, whatever you want to call it. And maybe that's what's happened here with Cooper Rush and this version of the Dallas Cowboys. Did you even see Mike McCarthy on the sideline when Rush had one of those touchdowns this weekend? He was fired up. He was as excited as I've seen him throughout his whole Cowboys tenure. And I'm no Mike McCarthy fan. But even when your head coach is starting to rally around this guy. I mean, Cooper Rush, you might, at the end of the year, no matter how this turns out, if Dak comes back, and the Cowboys still have a good season, make the playoffs, win a game, whatever. Cooper Rush might have saved Mike McCarthy's job when all is said and done. I mean, if you think about where the Cowboys are right now, most teams turn it over to a backup quarterback in this situation. I mean, what if the Cowboys had been 1-3 at the end of this stretch, and they're rushing to get Dak Prescott back? And the whole season goes in the toilet, and Mike McCarthy's out of a job, and Sean Payton's your head coach next year. I mean, Cooper Rush may have legitimately saved the job of Mike McCarthy. I don't think anybody can deny that. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can tweet us at The Back Page if you want to hit us up at any point on Twitter at The Back Page. Jason Cole will join us coming up in about 20 minutes. He's a Hall of Fame selector. He writes for Outkick.com. We'll get some thoughts. I'm curious to see what he thinks of the whole Dak Prescott situation. Is Jerry Jones leaving the door open just a little bit for the possibility that Cooper Rush remains the quarterback even if Dak Prescott is healthy? I think you have to hedge a little if you're Jerry Jones. I mean, you got those guys in the locker room. You got a coaching staff. You got all these people that are watching what Cooper Rush is doing. You've obviously got a quarterback that's gaining confidence with every win. How you gonna put him on the bench? But as I said last night on the show, it's much easier to go back to him if you have to than it is to sit a healthy Dak Prescott and then try to go back to Dak if suddenly Cooper Rush comes up short of expectations. And that's why I think Dak Prescott will be the starter of the Cowboys when he is eventually healthy. And he will be healthy at some point. All right, 1-800-224-2004 if you've got a thought on that. Tweet at me at The Back Page. Tom and Giselle, are they headed for divorce? I think we need some drama, like some soap opera music in the background for this segment. I also got a crazy Tom Brady stat that I want to throw at you guys. Jason Cole coming up in 18 minutes to talk some NFL as well. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In from SportsMap Radio.
So in the wake of Hurricane Ian, we're here to help. We have essential items in the front of the store.
Just about halfway home on this Tuesday edition of the show. You got a thought? 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page. And as I've said before, you can't win if you don't follow. Follow me on Twitter at the back page. Every Wednesday night we give away something cool, but you have to be following me on Twitter, and you got to shoot me a note and say hello. That's all I ask. I'm not asking for anything big. Just a little social media bribe. That's all I'm looking for. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. Jason Cole comes up in 14 minutes. We'll talk to the NFL Hall of Fame selector. We will talk to the Outkick.com NFL national writer and get some thoughts with him. By the way, baseball, just one more baseball thing before I get to this Brady Giselle thing. Aaron Judge right now is hitting 310, 526. So he's basically averaging 310, 526. Luis Ariz is hitting 315, 018. And Jay Jaffe, who does a great job covering Major League Baseball for Fangraphs, Jay Jaffe says Judge would have to go, if Ariz sits again tomorrow, he sat, it feels like, for like an entire week, Aaron Judge would have to go 4 for 4 tomorrow to win the batting title if Ariz sits. And I think the chances of that are slim and none. Look, and I'll say this again. I'm not one to sit here and try to judge whether a guy is healthy, does he have a real hamstring injury or not. But it is very suspicious when a guy is sitting out basically the final week of the season, sitting on a 315 batting average, knowing Judge is getting very few pitches to hit and is the only threat to him as far as the batting title is concerned. And I know it's very dangerous to always question if a guy is really healthy or if a guy is really injured, but it's very difficult in this position not to think that Luis Arraez is trying to sit on this batting title and basically win it on the bench. It kind of feels that way. But you can make of that what you may. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number. 800-224-2004. All right. I was hesitant to talk about this because, it's getting into somebody's personal life, and there's real humans involved in this. It's not, hey, somebody wins, somebody loses, somebody wins a batting title. Even a coach getting fired, people are like, oh, I feel bad for that coach who gets fired. And I'm like, why? He's probably getting paid for the next 3 years. How many times have you been fired and paid for the next 3 years? A player got released. I feel so bad. Why? He's still getting paid in most cases. That's so my sympathy quotient in those instances, I'll get into it later in the show about the Wisconsin coach. Oh my God. Paul Christ or whatever his name was. Yeah, I don't feel bad for these guys who get these massive severance payments, these massive separation agreements. But when you start talking about a guy's marriage, even if it's a high-profile guy like Tom Brady, who granted him and Giselle live their life in the public spotlight and it comes with the territory, I get it. But there's kids involved, and you never know who's listening and when. Not that I think his kids are listening to my show. But today the story emerged. And look, I said this when this whole thing started to break before the season started. Our show launched on September 5th, and I think on that day I may have said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Tom Brady's been very good at keeping his private life private. So when you see a story that says Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen are having these problems and it becomes public, you knew something was really wrong. Somebody wanted that information to get out for a reason because it was real. And today, the story kind of took another notch upward with Brady and Gisele reportedly having each hired divorce attorneys. Page 6 reported it first. CNN and People published reports later in the day on Tuesday saying Brady and Bündchen each have hired divorce attorneys and are exploring their options. Let's just say it now. Those two are divorcing. If you're exploring those options, this thing's already broken. I've been around enough people. I've been around enough people in relationships that get divorced. This thing seems like it's inevitable at this point that these two are going to wind up separated, divorced, whatever it may be. The two have been living apart in recent weeks, according to CNN. Brady's agent, Don Yee, and the Buccaneers, well, of course they had no comment. Bündchen's representatives did not respond to messages either. I mean, and look, I get it. And part of me gets both sides of it. I mean, Giselle's 42, and she's been married to Brady since 2009, and she put her whole life on hold, her career on hold as one of the world's leading models. And she did that as, a supportive spouse to Brady, who was out living his dream as an NFL superstar quarterback. But at some point, she's got to be able to live her life too. And now, supposedly, this isn't all about the football, and there's other elements involved to it. Reportedly, no cheating involved. But, I mean, this is now at the point where it feels like it's not a question of if they divorce, but when they divorce. And then there's the inevitable question we have to ask as people who host sports talk shows, and as people who, talk about sports for a living. We have to ask the question, how does this impact Brady on the field? And I have to be honest, unless it's a messy divorce and it's something that takes forever to get done and all these public, embarrassing details come out in the media, if this thing is a quick and simple and amicable divorce, I think it's going to be better for him in terms of the football field. I mean, they have enough money. They don't have to worry about, who's taking the kids this weekend. They'll figure that out. And I don't mean to sound unsympathetic towards what goes on with children in divorce. I have a very close, immediate family member who's going through this exact thing right now with kids roughly the same age as Tom Brady's kids. So I've seen it. I see what happens in these cases. And it's never easy on the kids. I don't mean to sound unsympathetic. But I think as far as Brady's concerned, I think it may ultimately be a good thing for him. 800-224-2004. Elijah is in Wisconsin with Jason Page on the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. What's up, Elijah? Well, I mean, look, I talked about this on the show, and you may not have heard it, and I appreciate the call. I talked about this on the show for maybe a week ago. Some guys don't have a plan for life after sports. I talked about the story last week. Juan Martín del Potro wrote this long expose about how life after tennis at, I think, 34 has been gut-wrenching for him because he doesn't know what else to do with his life. When your life revolves around one thing for so long, it's hard to just find something else that gives you meaning. And in the case of Brady, that was supposed to be TB12. And then it was, he's got an open offer and a contract signed to go do football games for Fox Sports. And then all of a sudden he's back playing football again. And you know why? Because none of those things make him feel the way he feels when he runs out of that tunnel on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, or at the Super Bowl every year, whatever it may be. Nothing gives him that feeling. And I have to say, I can sympathize with that. As somebody who's done one thing basically his entire life, as I have since I was 17 years old, all I've done is talk on the radio. And I've never found anything that makes me feel the way that I feel when I'm talking to an audience and taking a call from Elijah in Wisconsin or Manny in Las Vegas or Dylan in Georgetown or somebody, Mike in Dallas or Thunderman in Oklahoma City, whoever it may be. Sometimes there just isn't something that can fill that void. No matter what it is you do. And he knows that once he hangs it up, for him, there's no coming back. So yeah, he has all the records. That tells you he isn't playing for the records. He's playing because he loves to play the game. He's not playing for money. He's got more than God. He's not playing for Super Bowls. He's got all of them. That tells you this is a guy that's just addicted to the game and the way it makes him feel. And I, in some regards, am sympathetic towards him for that more than one that's going to chastise him for it. All right, Jason Cole's going to join us, NFL Hall of Fame selector. Check out his work at Outkick.com. He joins us next on this Tuesday edition of The Cash In. We're talking all things NFL as we continue. I'm Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. Well, understand what? 40 minutes past the hour. Sports Map Radio, the Sports Map Radio app. I am Jason Page. Thank you, Chad Erickson, for loaning us your voice. Big night in baseball with Aaron Judge's 62nd home run. The Braves clinching the National League East. But, of course, we're talking football because even in a day where there's big baseball stories, you still got to cover the NFL, and that's where we bring in one of my favorite guys, Jason Cole, NFL Hall of Fame selector. You can check out his work at Outkick.com. Jason, good to have you on the show as always. So I was talking about it at the top of the hour, this Jerry Jones appearing on a Dallas station today. And even though he said, no, not right now, we're not thinking about Cooper being the quarterback when Dak is healthy, is he still, by saying not right now, is he still leaving the door open potentially to Cooper Rush remaining the quarterback if he remains unbeaten?
He's doing the P.T. Barnum thing that Jerry always does, which is create controversy and edginess and all that kind of stuff. And with the Cowboys, because nobody's better at understanding soap operas than Jerry, right? So he's playing along with the potential controversy, but he didn't pay Dak Prescott all that money to sit on the bench either, right? So Dak's playing, and until Dak is no good, Dak is going to be the guy. Now the flexibility they have here is that you don't have to rush Dak back. You don't have to sit there and say, well, okay, we got to have him this week. We got to, make this work somehow, some way. You can wait a little while because you banked a couple of wins with your backup quarterback. So that's great. And you feel more confident with your backup quarterback. But
is that benching him? Is that almost benching him without benching him? Is it a difference, a distinction without a difference, that sort of thing?
No, I don't think so. I think it's making sure that he's fully healthy when he comes back so that he doesn't re-injure himself. I mean, I think, look, sometimes guys rush back in emergency situations when they don't have to. This one is you're in a comfortable position, okay? You feel confident. But if they're going to do anything in the playoffs, it's going to be because of Dak Prescott. Now, all things may change somewhere down the line, and who knows? Maybe Cooper Rush is the next Tom Brady. I think they made a decision a while ago that they know that that's not the case, that what they have seen out of Cooper Rush is not that kind of potential. So they're going with Dak Prescott. It's just going to happen. But Jerry likes to play along. He knows everybody's looking for some controversy. He knows everybody wants a little excitement. He knows that people love the backup quarterback. He's playing to the audience. And in the meantime, he's selling a few more Cooper Rush jerseys, if those actually exist. And it's all part of the fun.
And you know what else
that's
too?
How I look at it.
You know what else too? And you kind of mentioned it in terms of the whole P.T. Barnum thing. There's only one thing worse than not being good if you're Jerry Jones, and it's not being relevant. And right now, he's got both of those things. He's good at 3-1, at least in terms of record, despite whatever you might think of who those wins are against, or is Cooper Rush for real? He's 3-1, and he's relevant. I mean, he's getting the best of all worlds.
Yeah, you're selling more jerseys. Because when you're bad, people talk about you. You're kind of relevant, but they're not really buying the jersey. Right? He's good right now. He's relevant. He's got a little controversy, and they're selling some jerseys. So he's good. That's it, because that's what Jerry really cares about. Throw down some money for the jerseys and the tickets and everything else. Oh, yeah, we might play Cooper. You got to come see what happens. You really need to see what happens, because we might do it. We just might do it, Jason Page. We might play Cooper Rush. We just might do it. You won't pay attention. All the time you want to pay attention to the Cowboys. That's what you want to do.
Well, I'll tell you another thing. We're talking with our friend Jason Cole from Outkick.com, an NFL Hall of Fame selector and one of my favorite national NFL guys. One of the things is, and I said this last night on the show, because we just started on a new affiliate last night in Dallas. So I was saying hi to our friends in Dallas, and I said, look, it's always easier to go back to Cooper Rush if Dak does struggle or get hurt again. Whereas if you say and declare that Cooper Rush is your starting quarterback and then something happens to him, he doesn't play well, whatever it is, it's probably harder to go back to Dak in that circumstance too.
Well, and you just also drove the further leverage when Dak comes up again. You drove the leverage through the roof, right?
Yeah.
And now it's not immediate, but Dak's going to remember that. And that probably, and it's going to cost you any kind of goodwill that he might have to give you a break. He's going to say, yeah, that goodwill didn't really work with that Cole Cooper Rush situation. So, but he's got to play this game carefully. Let it go. Let it play out a little bit. That's fine. That's the Jerry way. But let's not take this too far. Dak is the guy, that they're going to, unless all of a sudden Cooper Rush starts throwing 4 touchdown passes every game, and 500 yards and all these things, and he's the second coming of Tom Brady. That's not, and they're not doing that. It's just not that's not in the plan.
Talking with our friend Jason Cole. Jason, you talk to people around the league. It's died down a little here in the last couple of days, and there was the almost ceremonial firing of this, neurologist, this independent neurologist that the NFLPA had and that the Dolphins used in this Tua situation. What are you hearing, beyond what's being put out there in the headlines, whether it's from players, whether it's from teams, whether it's from management? What are you hearing in terms of the gravity of this situation?
Well, it's dire in the sense that, if you're Roger Goodell, this is not the picture you want mommies to see of what can potentially happen to their little kids. Okay. And it's really not what little kids want to see either. Like when the guy goes into convulsions and the fingers, start to contort the way that they did. I remember seeing Tommy Kramer do that in the 1970s when he got tackled in a game against the Rams, right? That's not a pretty picture, okay? It doesn't encourage people to want to like and play the game. So this is a bad thing that they have to respond to, full on. And that's why, yes, it's a ceremonial firing. Did he do anything wrong? I know that Cameron Wolf from NFL Network reported that, but it didn't specify what he did wrong. Okay. Or was he just disagreeable? And there are people who reported that he was a disagreeable guy. Okay. What does that mean? You were defensive about the work that you did. You're a doctor. You're probably looking at this going, I did everything the way I was supposed to do it. Whether you actually did or not, you believe in yourself. You have that confidence. So I'm waiting to see what happens. And, Alan Sills and Tom Mayer have said that they're going to, put the full report out there. And look, we got, hundreds, if not thousands of people playing doctor out there. He definitely had a concussion the first time. Okay, maybe he did. Yeah, it looked like a concussion to me. It looked like classic symptoms to me. But I'm not a neurologist. And none of you other people who are out there are neurologists or are trained in detecting what is a neurotraumatic moment. Okay? Again, we have seen some evidence, punch drunk fighters and things like that, but we don't know that for certain here. So I'm going to wait to hear what the medical professionals have to say. I don't think there's a lot of waiting going on. There's not a lot of waiting going on among the fans. There's not a lot of waiting going on among the players. There's not a lot going on amongst the NFL. There's not much going on amongst the NFLPA, but let's wait and see what the professionals say about how this is handled.
Talking with Jason Cole, Outkick.com, getting some thoughts with him going around the National Football League and some of the big stories of the day. How alarmed should Rams fans be right now with the way this team has looked? I mean, lethargic is one term that comes to mind. I've heard Super Bowl hangover. At what point does it start to really look like a team that's sort of just going through the motions?
Well, it's not quite there yet, but I have thought, this is going to be a giant problem for this team all the way along because there was so much pressure on this team. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it on a individual basis, right? you hear the stories about Sean McVay and the crazy hours that he puts in, right? Then you have the go for it approach and go get every star player that you can probably get. Whether that's, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, you got Aaron Donald already, go out and get, Odell Beckham to, when you get an injury, do whatever it is that you can to get as many stars on this team as possible to make that Super Bowl run. That only raises the pressure, right? Which also raises the amount of exhale and relief when you got to the other side of it and you actually won. And then, you're paying people off like Aaron Donald because he performed, and you got to make him the highest paid defensive lineman in the history of the league and all these other things that you talk about. And it's really hard to maintain that edge. And so, yeah, I think there are times they're going through the motions. What's most worrying to me is that the two teams that they played who are really high quality teams with good quality defense, at least Buffalo, when it was healthy, had a good quality defense. It's kind of tapered a little bit here with some of the injuries they've taken. But those two teams, they got hammered by those two teams, in terms of their offense not being able to do it. And, the one person I mentioned who also had an inordinate amount of pressure on him coming into this whole situation was Matt Stafford, right? 12 years a Lion, which probably should be a movie. And, 12 years a Lion and frustration and all that. He comes to the West Coast and, there's this amazing amount of pressure that's on him to play well and to finally win a Super Bowl now that he's with a good quality team and a great coach and all those kinds of things. And here, you got the injury and, he's a bit of a, he's got the gunslinger thing going and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think there's getting him to rise to the level that he played last year is really, really difficult to do. So I think this team is fraught with a mental lapse waiting to happen. But in the course of a long season, will they get to game 12, 13, 14 and say, okay, it's time for us to kick it in? Because we're languishing at 7-4, 6-5, or 8-5. It's time for us to really, put it together and mow everybody down. Are they going to be able to snap to that at the, in the second half of the season down the stretch? Maybe. I got some pretty serious doubts. Most teams don't.
I got literally 30 seconds here, and then they're going to pull me off the air because they don't like when I go long.
Okay.
More likely to get it together, the Buccaneers or the Packers?
Buccaneers, they have better players.
Wow.
Especially at wide receiver. So, yeah, the Bucs, look, once they get Evans and Godwin and all those guys healthy, their offense is going to be fine. Packers, they're going to – Aaron Rodgers, overestimated underestimated the value of offseason and working with the receivers. And it shows. He's just he's not reading them and they're not reading him the way that each other expects. And that's showing up in some very poor play and inconsistency.
Jason Cole, Outkick.com. Check out his work there, an NFL Hall of Fame selector. My friend, I always appreciate it. Be well.
Anytime. Thanks, Jason.
We're back to wrap up this hour of the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. Guys. So the two interviews for certain in the podcast, and then I say the segment I'm going to do to start the next hour, I'm hoping is going to be good enough. The one that I'm going to do about the what record-setting one would you want to be at? Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that'll be the good one. Yeah, we'll see. Jason. Kind of surprised how high that Jason Cole was on Tampa Bay. I'm just not there. Something just feels like it's off in that entire situation. But I do trust Jason. So we'll see what happens. Packers 3-1 right now. Tampa Bay 2-2. And they both got kind of similar, point differentials and number of points scored, number of points allowed. Both of them are very similar. But I'm telling you, it's a, the longer this goes with Tampa Bay, you do have to start to wonder just, how long they can go in this situation. You also heard him say he thinks Dak is the starter when he comes back, that Jerry's just sort of playing this up, trying to get the most bang for his buck when it comes to getting people to talk about the Cowboys. And again, I've said this for years when it comes to Jerry Jones. The one thing that he despises more than losing is being irrelevant. And they've been irrelevant, even though they've had a lot of talk and they make a lot of money. As far as being an NFL team that, people consider a real threat, they've been irrelevant. Now they're both relevant and they're the source of a lot of conversation. So he's got the best of all worlds. We'll get to some more NFL in the next hour of the program. Also, an interesting topic that dovetails off of the Aaron Judge 60-second home run tonight. We'll talk about that. Ricky Williams is in the news. We'll go through some NFL MVP odds, too. I'm Jason Page. Glad to have you with us. Oh, no! I ruined the perfect show. We had a perfect game going. It's like having a no-hitter. It's like having a perfect game and beaning a guy. Oh, it's terrible. God. And I heard you. I heard you say 20. I heard you say 10. I just ran through the red light. Wow. And I ran the red light and ran over some old lady with her shopping cart. Oh, it's terrible. It's just awful. Jesus. I'm a professional. You watch? Yeah, no. You watch Walking Dead at all? What is wrong with you people? Walking Dead. Oh, it's where it's at. Oh my God. The zombie apocalypse is my jive. That's totally my jam. I am definitely post-apocalypse life. Like, I want that. I'm ready. I am set to go. As long as my back doesn't go out on me. I got a shot. I'll be the guy that dies because a zombie's able to limp over to him because he can't run. Me and my dog would be the first ones to die because my dog runs up to any stranger and thinks it's his best friend. So my dog would get eaten in about 5 minutes, and I'd get chased down for sure. I have a puggle. It's a half pug, half beagle. He's like he looks more beagle-ish than puggish, but he's 50-50. Like, we had him DNA tested because I'm one of those weird people that wants to know what his dog really is. And he literally is 50-50. Really? Oh yeah, it's a pretty popular mixed breed. Like, they breed them and stuff. Matter of fact, I got a thing today from our Oh my God, I looked at the price. Oh my God, it's crazy. Go, oh yeah, go look. I'm telling you, go. But hey, God. Exactly. All right, final hour of a Tuesday cash-in. SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. There are very few times I mute the mic during the breaks for the video feed. There's very few times. This was one of them. Talking about things that just nobody should be talking about into an open mic. This is how people lose their jobs. And there are just too many cases to count for it. Good to have you with us. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening to the show, thank you for consuming it. We are very appreciative. If you missed it, we talked with Jason Cole of Outkick.com. He's also an NFL Hall of Fame selector. He joined us in the last hour of the program. Brian Kenny joined us at the very start of the show tonight to talk about Aaron Judge hitting his 62nd home run, putting that story in perspective. And we also talked about a couple other baseball things. We will have that interview for you coming up about 35 minutes from now in case you missed it. We will play that back coming up in about 35 minutes because we got into some good stuff with the MLB Network host, Brian Kenny. So that's coming up a little later on in the show. If you're just tuning in, if you're just getting out of work, getting out of the bar, whatever it may be, you may have missed it. It was a big night in Major League Baseball. History was made in Arlington. The Yankees taking on the Rangers. Second game of a doubleheader. Aaron Judge looking for home run number 62.
Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders. The Babe hitting 60.
Yep, that's John Sterling. Yankees radio on WFAN. And it makes me think of a question I want to ask all of you out there listening across America. I'll ask it when we return. I'm Jason Page. It's the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Glad I could hear the music over the highlight. Otherwise, because as soon as I heard the music, I'm like, get out, get out. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. I told Vlad, he was like, are you good? Do you need me to come on? And I was like, man, I'm fine. I was like, go get some sleep and take a shower. You probably stink. No. I mean, we're just going to replay the Kenny thing at 40. Oh, no. I was watching. That thing is a zoo. Getting a player to like grab a phone and do an interview in that spot. He says, I smell like Corbell. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Who gets to do that? I've never done that. But I was never very early in my career, I was a reporter, but never for like a major league team or anything like that. I was basically a talk show host out of the womb. Came out with a microphone and a hot take. Wah! This womb sucks. Can we get some better breast milk in here? Yeah. Back hurts so bad right now. Oh, not going to sleep well at all tonight. Let me tell you the worst thing in the world for a bad back. It's sitting in a chair for 3 hours talking into a microphone. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Trying to make the best of it, but man. Whew. I said if it wasn't such a big sports night and all these things, I would have taken the night off. I was in so much pain all day after hurting my back. Earlier in the day, around noon, I threw my back out. I'm just giddy right now because I'm just hurting so bad. But that's the kind of effort we make. You gotta tough it out sometimes. Even when you don't got your A game. Justin Herbert can play with torn rib cartilage. I can give you 3 hours. That's what I do for you. NFL MVP, updated odds, and maybe we'll revisit who we think's going to win the MVP. We'll do that coming up in about 12 minutes or so here on the program. I'm curious, and we played the call from John Sterling a short time ago of Aaron Judge's 62nd home run, this historic night in baseball history, this historic night for the Yankees. And look, some people will say it's not historic. There were all these guys that hit 70 and in the 60s with McGuire and Sosa and Bonds and blah, blah, blah. You know what? It's just a different era of baseball, and you don't have to be the one to try and pour cold water on what Aaron Judge has done. Appreciate it. Applaud it. It's one of the best single seasons that anybody's probably seen in their lifetime, especially in the post-PED era. So there are some people out there that are going to try and rain on it and say, Bonds is the real home run champ. This means nothing. All right, fine. You're the same people that run up to little kids and say Santa isn't real and neither is the Easter Bunny. You're that guy. And that's fine if you want to be that guy, but let's just acknowledge you are that guy. But it got me to wondering as I was sitting there watching Judge hit his 62nd home run. And I have a great, this is sort of one of those made for sports radio topics, but I thought tonight it was really appropriate with what we saw Aaron Judge accomplish. So here's the question, and then I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll let producer John in Houston, our producer engineer John Belmer in Houston, weigh in too. Then again, he's like 12 years old, so I don't know what kind of an answer he's going to have for this. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Tweet at the show at the back page if you want to respond to this. So if you could have been there, if you could have been in person for one record-breaking sports moment, I don't want more than one. There's always the people like, well, I like this one and this. No, stop. One. I'm asking you for one. One sports moment that you could have been there live for, what would it be? I've seen three things in person that were really cool. And all of them were in baseball. Actually, I take that back. I've seen four things that were really cool. 3 baseball, 1 basketball. Here they are. I was there in person as a fan when Aaron Boone hit the home run against the Red Sox in Game 7 of the ALCS to send the Yankees to the World Series, a World Series they would lose to the Diamondbacks. I think it was the Diamondbacks. I don't remember. But I was there. Not the Diamondbacks. It wasn't the Diamondbacks. But they wound up losing in the World Series to the Marlins, I think it was. I was there for the Aaron Boone game. And that was nuts. I was at Camden Yards in 98 when Cal Ripken, unbeknownst to us, we didn't know. It was only the second Major League Baseball game I had covered. I was 20 years old. It was actually my 21st birthday, the night that Cal Ripken decided he was going to sit. I was there for that. It was only the second Major League Baseball game I had covered. I was a little kid. Tell you how long ago it was. I was engaged to a woman. That's how long ago it was. The third was I was at UConn Syracuse, the 6 overtime game at Madison Square Garden in the Big East tournament. I was there for that game. And I was at a game where Alex Rodriguez once hit 2 home runs in an inning, which is something you rarely get to see. So that was pretty cool. But I'm trying to think if there's anything that, I would have liked to have been at live. That one moment. Maybe Reggie Jackson's 3 home run game against the Dodgers. John Belmer in Houston, our producer engineer on the show. If you had one sporting event that you could have seen in person, what would it have been? Did you grow up in Houston? Okay, sorry. Okay. I thought it would have been when he was playing for the Rangers and he beat the crap out of Robin Ventura. That would see it when he just put him in a headlock and just started swinging at him. That would have been cool to see in person too. I'm trying to think. And look, it's my show. This is my topic, and I still don't have one. that I'm necessarily married to. I don't know. No, because Wilt was so much bigger than everybody back then that, his sheer size and his dominance was so physical that I don't think that would have been the one. I don't think there's any in basketball that would do it for me. I think a lot of them are baseball related, to be honest. And maybe it's just because I have this romance, this romanticization. I've always romanticized baseball. It's always been the sport that kind of hits closest to me. Maybe the Miracle on Ice. The U.S. beating the Soviets. And then most people don't realize that wasn't to win the gold medal. They actually had another game to play after that. But the U.S. beating the Soviets in Lake Placid would probably be one that I probably would have liked to have been at. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. That would probably be the one I would have been at. 1-800-224-2004. Give me one sporting event that if you could have been there live or one record-breaking moment, what would it have been? 1-800-224-2004. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say Hank Aaron, 755. Here's a black man in the South breaking one of the most storied records. Maybe being at something like that would be something that a lot of people would like to see. Football, I got to be honest. The number of I've only been to one NFL game live in my life. I've been to one as a member of the media and sat in the press box, and one as a fan live. Because I don't think the NFL live, it just doesn't do a lot for me. A lot of drunk people, a lot of beer being spilled on you, long lines at the bathrooms. I got to be honest, in general, other than baseball, and this is going to sound so uppity of me. If I'm not sitting in like the expensive seats at a baseball game, and this is coming from somebody who used to sit in the bleachers for 40 games a year at Yankee Stadium. So I used to be that guy. And after you do that for a long time and you get enough beer spilled on the back of your legs and just dealing with drunkards and, some ignorant folk in the bleachers, after a while you're like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather sit in the expensive seats with the fans that barely cheer. Because I don't have to deal with any of the headaches. And somebody's bringing me my drinks and my food and all that stuff. I've actually gotten to a point in life where I've become that guy. NBA, I don't want to sit in the nose. I want to be close to the game. I want to see these giant monstrous athletes be able to run up and down the floor like gazelles. You know, I think it's amazing. One moment, you get one moment, 1-800-224-2004. What would be the one moment you would like to have seen in person? Let's go Jesse in Phoenix with Jason Page on the Cash In on Sports Map Radio. Jesse, I'm going to be in Phoenix in about a month. You mean the one where he actually broke the streak? Yep. Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of the segment, I was there the night that he actually ended the streak. Like I said, I was literally had just turned 21 years old. It was only the second time I had been to Camden Yards, and I was there the night that storied streak ended, and it was just amazing. And I'll always remember the guy that started in his place that night was a guy named Ryan Miner. That was the kid. Yep. Ryan Miner got the start. Good stuff. Appreciate the call from Phoenix. Be down there in a month. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the show from there or not, though. I got to go to Phoenix for a bowling tournament, Belmer. Would I be traveling to Phoenix to bowl in a tournament if I wasn't good? No, but I've averaged over 200. Yeah. I mean, I've bowled some semi-professional tournaments and things like that. Now my body's just racked with pain, so I'm lucky if I could even get through 5 or 6 games. It'll get better by the time we get to the tournament. Don't worry. If I got to be hepped up on, Red Bulls and painkillers, I don't care what I'm going to have to do, but I'm bowling in that tournament. I already paid for it. But may have to miss a show for it. Sorry to say. You might get a day off. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter if you want, at the back page. Let me know the one sporting event you wish you could have been at, live, in person, either a record-breaking moment or something special to you that you just wish, if you had one moment you could have been at, what would it be? 800-224-2004 on Twitter, at the back page. Revisiting the MVP odds in the NFL. One guy has seen his stock drop way down in that race. We'll tell you who as we continue on the Cash In. It's Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. It's good. Most cool. but I thought tonight was a good time to do it with Brian Kenny of MLB Network. He hosts MLB Now and was literally on about 5 minutes before Aaron Judge hit his 60-second home run tonight in Arlington against the Rangers. So we'll have that coming up for you in about 15 minutes. 1-800-224-2004. Give me one sporting event, one, that if you could have been there live, or one record-breaking sports moment, if you could have been there live, what would it have been? What would have been the one for you? 1-800-224-2004, or tweet it at me at the back page. Let's go to Clint in Dallas, listening on 97.1 The Freak. What's going on, Clint? Clint? Yep, I hear you now. Go ahead. Yeah? Yeah, where you actually had to be there. Yeah. You know, Babe, yeah, it's a good one. I mean, Babe Ruth. You know, even Babe Ruth, when you're talking about, 1923, I think, when he hit 60 home runs. I know there sure as hell wasn't any TV then. I think there was TV when Maris hit 61, though. I'm pretty sure. No. I agree. They're not around the country, and there was radio, but I agree with you. There was a time where if you weren't there, you certainly didn't see it. Love it. Appreciate the call, Clinton Dallas, listening on our new affiliate in the Big D. 97.1 The Freak. Glad to be on with you guys every night, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. to midnight Central on The Freak. Home of the Dallas Mavericks, by the way. Going to be a fun team to watch all season long. Speaking of MVP odds, and I'm going to do this tomorrow on the show, but MVP odds right now in the NFL, I'll do the NBA tomorrow because I think Luka, if I'm not mistaken, I think Luka is the favorite right now on FanDuel Sportsbook for the MVP odds. I'm pretty sure. But in the NFL right now, MVP odds for the NFL, let's see here. MVP, I just had it in front of me and now it's gone. MVP odds, NFL. Let's see the updated odds as of right now. And this is crazy. Can I just say this? And this is just, I mean, this is a sucker bet all the way if you are crazy enough to make this. Okay? This is like the sucker bet of all sucker bets if you're crazy enough to do this. Right now, Josh Allen is the favorite at plus 275. I'm okay with that. Patrick Mahomes is plus 450. Lamar Jackson is plus 550. Here's the one that I don't get. Jalen Hurts is now tied for the third highest odds at plus 550. And I get the fact that they're the only undefeated team and he's off to a nice start. But is anybody really believe that Jalen Hurts has made this quantum leap from the quarterback he was a year ago to suddenly being an MVP quarterback? This is a sucker bet. Now, when the season started, Jalen Hurts was plus 4,000 on the betting odds to win the MVP. He was plus 4,000. Prior to week 4, he was plus 700. Now he's plus 550. I mean, that's crazy. Lamar Jackson, interestingly enough, was plus 2,200 before the season started and is now plus 550. Who's made the biggest drop, though? We've talked about him a little bit on the show tonight. Tom Brady. Tom Brady was plus 2,200 at the start of the year. He's now plus 4,000. meaning you wager $100, you would win $40,000, I think, on Tom Brady. No, I'm sorry, you'd win $4,000. If you wager $100 on Tom Brady and he wins the MVP, you'd win $4,000. That's crazy. When you think about the fact that it's Tom Brady. I'm actually surprised his odds were that bad at the start of the year. Aaron Rodgers has dropped significantly. Aaron Rodgers at the start of the year was plus 700 to win the MVP. He's now plus 2,500. Trevor Lawrence has seen an interesting move, though. He was plus 10,000 before the season started. He was plus 3,000 before week 4. Now he's plus 5,000. So some of the guys to keep an eye on as it relates to MVP. We'll do this tomorrow night on the show for the NBA. I'm curious to see who some of the guys that are favored. I'm pretty sure that it's Luka in the NBA. That he's the favorite to win the MVP. If he's not, he should be. The preseason NBA championship winner odds right now have gotten a little tighter. Boston's plus 600, Milwaukee plus 650. The Nets, Clippers, and Warriors all at plus 700. And I got an interesting one tomorrow night as it relates to this NBA MVP preseason odds and what NBA GMs are saying. The NBA, every year, there's this poll of NBA GMs, and they ask them a bunch of different questions, and it's anonymous, so you get some real insights into what these guys that are running some of these teams think about some of these various teams. And there was one question that I don't want to spoil it. We'll do it tomorrow night on the show, but there was one question that definitely got my attention. Yes, by the way, and I won't spoil it because we're going to do it tomorrow night on the show. NBA regular season MVP, I was right. Luka is the favorite right now, but we'll get into the odds tomorrow on the show. But Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks is the favorite to win the MVP. The only thing I worry about with him is the same thing probably everybody in Dallas worries about with Luka, and that's health. Can he stay healthy for 82 games? Is he in good enough shape? Everybody always talks about, his figure, his physique. It's not just Zion Williamson that we talk about with regard to those things. I can't wait to see what Zion does if he's healthy this year. Oh, New Orleans is going to be a fun team to watch for 82 games this year and even in the postseason. If that team is healthy, and they were on TNT tonight for a preseason game, and Zion had one of those plays that everybody's going to be talking about tomorrow for, a few hours in the morning before we get on to the other news of the day, because it's the NBA preseason and nobody cares. But if Zion could be healthy for 82 games, I am dying to see what this kid can be. We'll see. 1-800-224-2004 is the phone number. If you missed it, earlier in the show, we talked with Brian Kenny, who does a terrific job on Major League Baseball for MLB Network, MLB Now. If you missed it earlier in the show, we talked to him about Aaron Judge hitting home run number 62. We'll get to that coming up in just a minute. I'm Jason Page. Stay with us. Lots more to do. It's the Cash In from SportsMap Radio. What happened? Okay. It's all right. No worries. Okay. I just figured it was best to just get it to break. Now, how do you have this interview cut? Do you have it self-contained and I take it out? But I have to take it out because it's not long enough. So just end it with his last answer with like him saying thanks or whatever, and then I'll take it out. Okay? All right. But you can play it coming back like normal. Okay. But I'm not sure I agree with him when he says that, the Mets are, better than he thinks. I think that team's got issues offensively, and you can pitch all day. And I said it yesterday on the show, when you've got, basically 30% of your payroll tied up in two pitchers, it's just not an effective way to spend your money in building a roster. I mean, if money's no obstacle, as it seems to be with Steve Cohen, if money's no obstacle, then you've got to build it smarter with a $260 million payroll than he has. And I still think that's ultimately, I don't think the Mets have enough offense to win a World Series. That's just my opinion. Could wind up being wrong. I think the National League is very much up for grabs despite what happened, with the Dodgers and the 110 plus wins they're going to wind up with. The Aaron Judge home run ball, by the way, $2 million was the original thought as to how much that ball would be worth. $2 million. A guy by the name of Corey Humans was the lucky fan who caught the ball, and he kept it. He caught home run number 62, and he kept it. And we'd been asking for a while, what would you do, if you caught the home run ball? Security got him out of there, but home run number 62. Let me tell you what's worse, though, than not catching the home run ball. What's worse is not catching the home run ball and jumping from the seats and falling down below some, 15 feet and probably breaking your ankles like the guy did tonight at the game. Anybody see that? Guy went for a ride, man. But here's the thing. Would they let him keep it if he went down there where he wasn't supposed to be? That's the question. Would they have let him keep the baseball if he went into a restricted area to get it? That would have been fascinating to see. It would have made for an interesting court case or something. If I were him, I wouldn't have given it up. Home run number 62 worth $2 million. And the thing I haven't been able to get an answer on tonight either is, well, what happens if he plays tomorrow and hits number 63? Does that wind up being worth more than 62? Or is the home run, is it because it's the home run breaking ball that he would have to, the home run breaking ball, the record breaking ball would always have to be the one that would be there. Aaron Judge says he hopes to be in the Yankees lineup tomorrow. Okay. So it's up to, if your star player's saying, I want to be in the lineup tomorrow, he still has an outside shot at the batting title. I think you got to let him play. And I get this whole thing about getting him some rest. He played 54 straight games and all that. But I think you got to get him. If he wants to play tomorrow, you got to let him play. And we'll see if Luis Arias plays. And maybe we'll have a race for the batting title. We'll come back and wrap up this edition of The Cash In. I'm Jason Page at Sports Map Radio. Sounds like Judge will be the DH tomorrow from what I'm reading. Yeah. Yeah, Patrick Creighton and I have a bet. The loser has to buy the jersey of the other team and wear it on a show. Yeah. Well, I was willing to put some money on it, and he was like, I'm making that local radio money. I can't do it. All right. We are all done with the show. Thank you for watching, those of you that did. Thank you if you listened on the SportsMap Radio app or listened on one of the SportsMap Radio affiliates. Congratulations to that guy, Aaron Judge, while he was on the screen. We'll be back here tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe he hits number 63 tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. I'm Jason. I'll see you tomorrow on the Cash In. Bye.